And a very happy Mother's Day to all you wonderful mothers, whether you're an actual mother or taking the place of a mother and mothering. This is your day. Celebrate your day. God knows every day is your day, but at least one day a year you get to be celebrated. Make the most of it. And so, it's a good day to be looking at being good to yourself. There wasn't enough room on the marquee to say, be good to yourself. So it says yourself. And it's all about yourself today. And it's about being good to yourself. And let me tell you, it's not something I don't think many of us have on our agendas. Has anybody ever gotten the first thing on their list, be good to yourself today? I don't know if I've ever done that in my entire life. Be good to yourself today. And it's not an easy thing to do. And as I say, we don't give it much time. We don't give it much consideration. And yet, being good to yourself is a masterful art. And it's an art we are all called to because of the nature of our being. We are called to be good to ourselves. But many of us don't understand what that is. We think be good to yourself means indulge yourself. Doesn't mean that at all. It means be good to yourself. And to do that, certain key things have to be in place because that principle is based on to thine own self be true, which is based on the first words that were ever written over any temple in ancient Greece, man, know thyself, which is based on understanding who you are, what you are, and whose you are. So being good to yourself is no small task. And it's not something we have contemplated very often, if ever. There might be some of us in this room who have never contemplated what it means to be good to yourself. To be good to yourself, you and I need to have a very strong and powerful self-image. And a self-image that is not the outpicturing of an ego, a strong ego. It has nothing to do with that. But a self-image that calls us back into realizing I am the image and I am the likeness of that which created me, which is awesome power, which is not only awesome power, but it's life, it's light, it's love, it's peace, it's beauty as well as power, it's joy, it's wisdom, it's knowledge, it's understanding. It's all of those things. It's a wholeness, it's a completeness. And that's what I have to know about myself before I can be good to myself. And how do I go about being good to myself? Now, there are a few people who have walked the plains, walked this earth, and are still walking them, that manage to do that. But there are very, very few. Well, how did they get there? How do you get to the point where you know exactly how to be good to yourself? Well, there's a long process that is prior to that ability. And the process is understanding that I have realized that I am the image and likeness of the infinite. I have realized that its power is a power for good in the universe. It's greater than I am, and I have the privilege of being able to use it for my own good and for the good of others. It's the understanding that if I am to be good to myself, I have had to learn how to honor myself, respect myself, and love myself, because that power that created me dwells in me as me. I can only be good to myself once I deeply realize that I'm here to honor that presence, nurture that spirit, and enrich that life that lives and moves and has its being within me and within everybody else too. This is very, very high, virtuous understanding and living. I have to realize that my life is a life that doesn't belong just to me. It belongs to all of life because it is part of all of life. And that my life is a life that's a gift given to me so that I can show up and be the givingness of the life that gave itself to me back onto itself in everything and everyone I meet. It's an understanding of my life as a cosmic life, as an eternal life, as an ongoing power, as an ongoing presence, as an ongoing energy. I have to know this in order to be really good to myself. Because that's what I'm being good to. That which is greater than I am, more than I am. The essential self of myself. The divine aspect of my being. I have to be good to that, good from that, and good for that. That's where I'm called to be on this wonderful day of days, to be good to myself. And myself is the one. There is only the one. Within the self, we're talking about the one, and the one is the other as well. And the other is just every other aspect of life, all of life in all of its essence. It's such a beautiful, amazing, unbelievable concept that I can have of myself in order to be good to myself. And it follows as day the night and night the day, that if I'm good to myself, I'm good to myself in all of life. I'm good to myself in everyone and everything. I know what life is, and I honor it. And I show up for it. And I'm present to it. And I'm awake to it. I'm alert to it. I'm engaged in it. I'm connected to it. It's a yippee day when I open my eyes in the morning and I know, hey, I get to do this again. I get to do this again. I get to allow myself to be the outlet for an enormous and an incredible bigness to express itself through me. And all I have to do is to step out of the way and allow that to happen, and it will happen on its own volition. It's an amazing thing, and it doesn't matter how battered or broken or down and out I might be feeling as far as my humanity is concerned, as far as the shenanigans of my ego is concerned, and what my ego has managed to get me into. God blessed, divine though it be. I mean, the little rascal. I mean, it's always trying to, outsmart, outmaneuver, and so on, the divine aspect of our being. It's a beautiful thing, and I love it. But it drives me crazy at times. I don't know if it drives you crazy at times either. But it does me, and then I just have to, do the Caesar thing and get it back into, into congruence with the real aspect of my being. And so how do we go about doing this? How did the enlightened ones do that? How did they get consciously connected to the source of their being? How did they manage to move through life with that kind of poise and congruence when body, mind, and soul and spirit is aligned so beautifully? That nothing disturbs them, nothing stops them, nothing blocks them, nothing knocks them off their center. How did they come to that? What's the secret? It's not much of a secret at all. Here's what they learned to do. Each and every one of them learned mindfulness, faithfulness, carefulness, and prayerfulness. And how did that get translated into their lives? They learned to watch what they were thinking. Be careful about what they were thinking. They learned to be careful about what they were hearing. They learned to be careful about what they were speaking. They learned to be careful about what they were doing. And they were absolutely committed to their spiritual practice every single day, whatever it was. And they were absolutely committed to not allowing the sun go down until they knew they had shown up in sacred service somehow, some way. That's how they did it. That's how they did it. It sounds very simple. They learned how to watch their thoughts. Watch what they were allowing themselves to hear. Watch what they were allowing themselves to say. Watch what they were allowing themselves to feel. And then, in doing all of that, the other two were easy. The spiritual practice, because that in and of itself is a spiritual practice, and sacred service. Now, what has been asked of us today? At least to make the commitment to, for heaven's sake, for at least 5 minutes in the day, know and feel like you're in spiritual practice. and to do at least one thing in the day that you know and feel like it's really sacred service. That's all to begin with. Just 5 minutes of a real conscious connection with the understanding and the realization that I am accompanied. I'm not alone. I'm in the company of that which created me, the source of my being. I'm tuning into it. I'm saying hi to it. I know you're present. Thank you for being with me. Thank you. That's so authentic. That's real. And I do one thing, just one thing, in being with this idea that I'm here to give back, to put in, to make a contribution, because that's what my life's essence is, to give, and to give. Ask any mother, ask any father, what is it that you're called to do every day of your life? To give, to give, to give, to give, to give. And mostly to the very ungrateful. And yet, that's what the mother's heart does, whether the mother's heart is in a man or a woman or a child. That's what the mother's heart does. It gives unconditionally. It can't help itself. It's the nature of the creature to give. And that's how the enlightened ones became enlightened. They showed up in sacred service and they gave without judgment, without wanting limelight for it, without wanting to have a prize at the end of it, without wanting to be recognized for it, without any sense of wanting a return of any kind. That's how they did it. And we think it's a great big mystery. What is the mystery in listening and hearing and saying and thinking and feeling aright? Where's the mystery in that? I don't find it myself. On the other hand, is it easy to do by Jiminy Crickets? It is not. Try for one whole day to keep your mind clear of negativity. For one whole day. It's like an eternity, that one whole day. Is this day ever going to end? So that I can get through it and get my stars at the end of it so that I can say I did it for a day. 5 minutes and you're lucky. But yet, that's the task. That's the task. They moved out, these great ones moved out of negativity into affirmation. They affirmed life. They never negated life. They never negated life. It didn't matter what the appearances were. They did not judge it. They did not condemn it. They did not negate it. They went beyond the appearance. And they knew this is not your truth, their truth, its truth. That's not their truth. They are more than this. It is more than this. This condition is more than this. This condition is simply a message. It's a message. It's an opportunity for me to get something that I obviously didn't get without it. So it's here as a gift. It's here as a messenger. I'm supposed to get something from it. And when I get something from it, I'm finished with it. I don't need it to be in my company anymore. It can go. Thank you. I get it. Same with persons, places, and things. The obnoxious people that cross our path and we think, oh my God, what did I do to deserve this? It's nothing to do with the deservability. It has to do with your soul's need to be able to maneuver this, that, and the other, sort out this, that, and the other, so it can keep unfolding more and more of its brilliance and its essence and its greatness. That's what that has to do. And so the great ones never argued. Oh my gosh, there was never any argumentation amongst the mystics and amongst the enlightened ones. They never entered into argumentation. People wanted to argue with them and they just looked at them and blessed them and didn't know what they were on about. They're just going, oh, you wonderful person. What a hard way you're choosing to live. Oh my goodness. You must have had a dreadful day. Must have been very upsetting, whatever it was that caused you to turn yourself into this gibbering heap of obnoxiousness, as the world might see it. But I know that's not what it is. I know your beauty, I know your grace, I know your goodness, I know your kindness, I know your truth. So bless you, bless you, bless you, darling heart, bless you. That's what they would be thinking. The rest of us be rolling up our sleeves and saying, just wait till you stop it. You're going to get a good piece of my mind and a slap up the side of the head. And if you're lucky, you might just get away with some shred of dignity when I'm finished with you. That's not what's going on in your mind, but that's the feeling, that's the energy, that's the heat coming from negative energy that's happening. So when the heat is rising, you and I have to go into deep breathing, let me tell you, and even if it comes out as panting, it's better than, as my mother would say, making a holy show of yourself and losing your dignity and your sense of center. And do you realize that there's so much energy in any given day that each one of us has to use? And if I'm going to use it up first thing in the morning when I get all bitchy and hissy and so on because I stubbed my toe against the whatever, or the, the milkman or the postman or the whatever man upset me for some reason. I mean, what these people learned to do was not allow any aggravation to touch them from any source outside of themselves. That's how controlled and disciplined they were. Two words we don't like to hear, but they're beautiful words. If you could say to yourself, I am controlled and disciplined, and it was really the truth, you'd feel magnificent about it. You'd think that those were your two best friends, control and discipline. Now, you and I are called this week to monitor our thinking, monitor what we're allowing ourselves to hear, monitor what we are saying, monitor what we are feeling, and monitor what we are doing. If that's too much, start with one thing per day. Today, I'm just going to watch what's going on in my mind. Next day, I'm just going to monitor what I'm actually hearing, what I'm hearing from within myself and outside of myself. And then the next day, I'm going to be careful about what I'm saying. And the next day, I'm going to be very careful about what I'm doing. And then the next day, I'm going to pay attention to my spiritual practice. And then the next day, I am going to be so ready for sacred service that my whole day is going to be a blast of sacred service. And then the next day, which is the seventh day, you rest. I read something recently and it said, how magnificent it is to do nothing and then to take a rest. I loved it. How magnificent it is to do nothing and then to take a rest. Must have been a Spaniard that wrote it or something. I love their siestas over there. First time I visited Spain, I wasn't too happy about it because everything closed down for 3 hours in the middle of the day. But then I thought, how lovely is that? How lovely is that? Pause. Press the pause button. So I'm going to ask a rhetorical question. Where are you just now with all of this? Those 6 things that I've talked about and shared with you is the way all of us can move into that enlightened state. Where are we with all of that? Choose the one that's causing you the most trouble and focus in on that one, whichever one it is. And let me tell you, your day is going to be better than your days have been in a while. But you have to understand that this is only going to come from a healthy self-esteem. What gets thrown out with this is all the berating of ourselves, the belittling of ourselves, the condemning of ourselves. Buddha says, enemies may do terrible things to enemies and foes may do terrible things to foes, but that's nothing compared to what the disquieted mind can do to you. Nothing compared to what the disrupted, disquieted mind can do to you. So we have to start letting go of all of our shame and all of our guilt and all of our judgments and about ourselves, all the negation of ourselves. We have to just tie it up in a neat bow, throw it in the sea and let it go. Let it go, put a stone on it and let it go. And know, today is a new day, it's a fresh start, and I'm going to be a new me in it. I mean, that's what you get to do every day of your life, to be a new me, to be a new you. Every day of your life. You can leave the past behind you where it belongs. You can take all that lumber off your shoulders and stop carrying all those crosses. You can lay down all those heavy weights, and you can start over and be fresh and new and begin again and begin again and begin again and begin again until you've taken root into a new self-awareness of yourself that truly releases you from that bondage of shame and blame, and you can start seeing yourself and feeling yourself as the divine impulse that decided it had to be you. It had to be you. Really. That's what happened to you. That's how you got born. The divine decided, I've got to know myself by means of her. I've got to express myself by means of him. That's why you were called into being. And you were called into being to have a magnificent life. That's the divine design for each and every one of us. A magnificent life. But it's only going to happen if you take care of your thinking, if you take care of what you're hearing, if you take care of what you're saying, if you take care of what you're feeling, if you take care of what you're doing, if you take care of your spiritual life, if you take care of your sacred service. It's as easy and as challenging as that, my dear ones. And all of us can do that. How do I know it? Because you're sitting there today. You're in this room. An impulse brought you here. It wasn't a whim. It wasn't somebody dragging you along. It was the divine impulse within you to know and to express what you know, the magnificence, the grace, the brilliance, the light of your soulfulness, so that your light doesn't have to stay hidden under a bushel. Put bed instead of bushel, because who knew what bushel was when we were children growing up in Ireland? A bushel. What the hay is a bushel? All we knew was something that hid the light. So we're not supposed to hide our light. We're supposed to put it on a big stand for it to glow, radiate, and give light to all around it. That's who you are. That's what you are. You are the divine impulse itself, created in radiant magnificence, to be magnificent, to be that one thing that flourishes and thrives and realizes its purpose and its intention, to self-actualize and to God realize, and that's today's message, and so it is.